Hi, today we're going to talk about menstrual cycles. The other word for it is your period. Once a month, a female who has gone through puberty will experience menstrual bleeding. This happens because the lining in your uterus has prepared itself for a possible pregnancy by becoming thicker and richer in blood vessels and nutrients. If pregnancy does not occur, the uterus sheds its lining and you start your period, which can last up to a week or longer. The average um, the menstrual cycle is regulated by complex interactions of hormones, which are the luteinins hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, the female sex organs, sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. There's three phases that it goes through the follicle before the release of the egg, the ovulator, egg release, and the lutein after the egg is released. Follicular phase begins on the first day of menstrual bleeding. The lining of the uterus is thick with fluids and nutrients designed to nourish an embryo if an egg is fertilized. Estrogen and progesterone levels are low. The top layers sheds and your menstrual bleeding occurs. While this is going on, the pituitary gland increases the production of the follicle stimulating hormone. This hormone stimulates the growth of 3 to 30 follicles. Each follicle contains an egg. Only one of these follicles will release their egg. The increase in estrogen begins to prepare the uterus and stimulates the luteinizing hormone. The follicle stage lasts about 13 to 14 days and gets shorter near menopause. The ovulator phase begins when the levels of the luteinizing hormone surges. The luteinizing hormone stimulates the dominant follicle to bulge from the surface of the ovary and finally ruptured, releasing the egg. This phase only lasts 16 to 32 hours. The egg can be fertilized for only up to 12 hours after it's been released. The surge in luteinizing hormone can be detected by measuring the levels of this hormone in urine. Fertilization is more likely to occur if there's sperm already in the reproductive tract. Most pregnancies can occur when intercourse occurs within 3 days before ovulation. The lutein phase begins after ovulation, only lasts about 14 days unless fertilization occurs, and ends just before the menstrual cycle period. The ruptured follicle releases or closes after releasing the egg and forms a structure called a corpus luteum, which produces progesterone. The progesterone prepares the uterus in case of an embryo is implanted. It thickens, fills with fluids and nutrients to nourish a potential embryo. It also causes the mucus in the cervix to thicken, so no sperm or bacteria enters the uterus. Also causes the body temperature to increase. The estrogen level is high, and the increase in estrogen and progesterone causes milk ducts to widen. Breast may swell and become tender. If the egg is not fertilized or implanted, the corpus luteum degenerates after 14 days. The estrogen and progesterone decreases and a new menstrual cycle begins. which could go like this. Day 1 to 5, the first day of your menstrual bleeding is considered day 1. Bleeding is usually heaviest the first 2 days. Day 6 to 14, once the bleeding stops, the uterine lining begins to prepare for the possibility of a pregnancy. Uterine lining becomes thicker and enriched with blood vessels and nutrients. Day 14 to 25, usually in this time an egg is released from the ovaries and begins its journey to the uterus. If it encounters sperm, the fertilized eggs will travel to the uterus and bury itself into the wall. In day 25 to 28, if the egg wasn't fertilized or an implantation does not occur, hormone changes signals the uterus to prepare to shed its lining, and we start all over again. And some words that that are mentioned is menarche. It's the time in a girl's life when menstrual first begins. Menstruation is your period, is when blood and tissue from your uterus comes out of your vagina. Menopause, the cease of menstruation, a period in a woman's life typical between 45 and 50 years when this starts to happen. Ovulation, discharge in the ova or ovules from the ovary. Fertilization, the process of combining the male gamete or sperm with the female gamete or ova. The product of a fertilization is a cell called zygote. Thank you for listening and have a good day.